Hi, and welcome back to the TMDSAS podcast. Today we're going to be covering a couple of topics with Mr. Matthew Meeks, the director of TMDSAS. But before we get started with that, we wanted to give you a couple of reminders. Registration for the Texas MedDent Roundup is open. The Texas MedDent Roundup is a 2-day event. The Friday is available for high school students and for college freshmen, and that will cover topics related to the Joint Admission Medical Program. And on Saturday is our big event where we have Dr. Jennifer Arnold and Dr. Patricia Adesanya joining us. Again, this is on Saturday, October 7th. Admission is free. It's in San Marcos, Texas, right between Austin and San Antonio. And we'd love for you to join us. We have special sessions for everybody according to their academic levels. So if you're a freshman, you have a different experience than if you're a non-traditional applicant. So go ahead and register for that event. If you'd like to join our non-traditional applicants page on Facebook, you can find the link in the description of this podcast. Or if you'd like to visit our TMDSAS homepage, we have a link to the non-traditionals resource page on there, which includes links to several statistics, application information, and a link to our Facebook group. Today we're joined by Mr. Matthew Meeks. He is the director of TMDSAS. He's joining us in today's session for non-traditional applicants to talk about a very important topic. It's the academic fresh start, which we've discussed quite a bit in the Facebook group for non-traditional applicants. If you'd like to join our Facebook group, the link is in the description of this episode. Mr. Meeks, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So we have our first question from Alina Alonso in the non-traditional applicants Facebook group. She's asking the very basic question, what is Academic Fresh Start?
Academic Fresh Start, it's an opportunity to take the coursework that's older than 10 years and to have it essentially removed from their application.
All right. Very easy answer there. So it's essentially kind of like a quote unquote nuclear option.
Yeah.
For anybody who maybe went to college 10 or more years ago and didn't do very well, but wants to get started again. And this option is available for people even beyond medical, dental, veterinary admissions. It's a statewide initiative.
Academic Fresh Start is an option during the admissions process at a public state college or university in Texas.
All right. And what are the requirements to take on the Academic Fresh Start provision?
Well, obviously it's for coursework that's over 10 years old. And you have to take at least one course in your initial term. So if you're applying to, let's say, Texas State, for example, fall 2017, and you're granted Fresh Start by their admissions department, then you have to complete at least one course that semester. That's really it. I mean, there are other options out there, but for Fresh Start, an undergraduate admissions counselor will sort of go over your record with you to try to determine if Academic Fresh Start is the best option. I've had some applicants who mentioned that they were interested in Fresh Start and they really didn't need it. And I think that's when the admissions department at the institutions that you're applying to can really help counsel you through that process to determine if it's right for you.
Yeah. And even if, that would include a prerequisite course. If I took Biology 1 in 2006 and I did Academic Fresh Start, I'd have to do Biology 1 again because it's one of the prerequisites.
Right. It's a nuclear option. So that, essentially, it's if you were to apply, we'll use Texas State again as the example. If you were to apply for admission for fall 2017, then and you were granted Fresh Start, it would be all coursework summer 2 of 2007 and back.
Yeah, so it's all or nothing.
All or nothing, yeah.
All right. Well, our next question comes from Mustafa Hassan. He's asking, can you use Academic Fresh Start if you've already graduated with a bachelor's degree?
You can, but again, it would be starting over. And if you graduate with a bachelor's degree and most of your coursework is over 10 years old, you could do that, but it would be starting over.
Yeah.
Also, it's important to mention that federal financial aid covers 12 semesters. So if you enter into a new degree plan and in an academic fresh start, then, potentially there's going to be some semesters that are not going to be covered with federal financial aid dollars.
Well, following along the same lines, Sammy Joe L is asking, how do the admissions committees view those that have taken on the Academic Fresh Start program? And are they viewed differently in the review process than a typical applicant that didn't require that program?
Well, the admissions committees, the schools know, that they see the academic history. They know that you're a fresh start applicant. I don't think it would exist if there was kind of that stigma with fresh start applicants. And our schools use a holistic review process. I don't really, I don't think I could answer that question with all certainty because I think it's up to the schools. But my opinion would be that they wouldn't look at an applicant any differently. If anything, I mean, if you've put in the work to redo a significant percentage of the coursework, then I think, if anything, that shows quite a bit of courage. Yeah.
Courage and a little bit more academic aptitude if that coursework is significantly better than what was before. And in turn, that actually makes you a more competitive applicant.
Absolutely.
So what common issues do we have with applicants who are taking on the Academic Fresh Start?
Well, for application purposes, it's getting in your transcripts. That seems to be, in the application process, it seems to be an issue. I would say that a significant percentage of the transcripts come in later in the summer. And we can transmit applications without transcripts, but we can't for fresh start applicants. For fresh start applicants, we have to have all the transcripts in order to process and transmit the application. So sometimes that can be a little bit confusing for the applicants. They think that if they're fresh start, just like any other applicant, they don't have to have their transcripts in before transmission, but that's not the case. We have to have them all in at one time. So I would say that's probably the biggest issue we have.
And when one of these applicants is filling out the application, do they have to enter all the previous coursework that was wiped away with Academic Fresh Start when they're doing their coursework section?
Absolutely. You have to enter in all coursework from all the way from AP credit, your first year of college, however long ago that was, up until now. And then the academic evaluators here at TMDSAS will compare your transcripts to when you were granted fresh start, and then they'll process it accordingly. So
even though everything's been wiped clean, you still have to report that on TMDSAS.
Absolutely.
All right, that's good to know. Is there anything else that we should know about Academic Fresh Start before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I think it's important to take a look at your transcript and make sure that Academic Fresh Start is indicated on the transcript. And we had this happen a few times this year. We have applicants that either it's worded differently or it didn't appear on the transcript, and in that case, they had to get letters from the registrar or an updated transcript. So it's a good idea just to speed the process up a bit. When you apply, take a look at your transcripts and make sure that it's indicated on there, because that's something that could take a few weeks to correct, and so it's always a good idea to check first.
Even though applicants are reporting all of the coursework from before their Academic Fresh Start, that coursework does not count in the GPA calculation.
That's right.
So it is being reported, but it's not counting against you.
Right. You'll see the GPA will reflect that upon submission. But once we've processed the application and transmitted the application, the GPA will be updated.
Great. Well, we've got a follow-up question from Sammy Joe, and this does not have to do with Academic Fresh Start, but the application in general. Right now she's saying she has completed her primary application. She's writing secondary applications. She's working full-time and working volunteer experiences. She's asking how she can plan for the next cycle just in case she doesn't get any interviews or offers this cycle. She doesn't want to have a quote-unquote gap year where she missed the opportunity to apply again.
Yeah, I think this is what's great about the Texas medical schools is they're willing to do what's called an application review. And so I would say, if you don't get an interview in the fall, I would say try to schedule an application review with one of the medical schools to see how you can improve your application. And I know, Enrique, you have a number of different things that you recommend applicants do if an applicant's not invited for an interview.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to, taking a look at your application through the perspective of somebody that is on an admissions committee and identifying any areas that require improvement. And if you'll recall from Dr. Jones's episode of the podcast, he talks about how it's not a gap year, it's an enrichment year. So even if your enrichment year is involuntary because you didn't receive an interview or an offer, that doesn't mean that year should go to waste. You should take a very candid look at your application and see any problem areas that you might have. For example, if your GPA is not there, you might want to consider a master's program. There are several options just in Texas to go out and find a one-year master's program that can help prove to the admissions committees that you are academically prepared for medical, dental, vet school. If your test scores aren't there, you know exactly what to do in that case. If you need more volunteer experiences, you know what to do there. If you feel that there might be some other non-academic reasons, then I would really suggest that you seek out an advisor who can help you hone in on those different experiences and those different characteristics so that you can overcome those non-academic barriers keeping you from getting admitted. One of the things that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks are some competencies that have been identified by the medical schools and as part of the AAMC initiative. And these competencies are essentially the characteristics that medical schools are looking for in their applicants. And they're essentially competencies that we expect out of our doctors. And they've kind of been reverse engineered into identifying what we look for in our applicants. So we'll be talking about those a little bit further in the coming weeks. So that'll be some food for thought on what you can do to improve your application.
Yeah, and I think also take a look at the statistics on our website. You can go to the homepage. There's application statistics. There's a link, and download the PDF and just sort of take a look at the academic statistics there, and compare your application. And if you think that like Enrique, like you said, I mean, if it comes down to taking more courses or improving your score, that's one way to kind of do a quick comparison, quick assessment of where you stand compared to the averages.
Well, before we let you go, is there something you'd like to share with applicants about the current cycle?
Well, we have some great applicants this year, and we're also, we've had more applications than we've ever had. And so it's going to be a competitive year. And I would say, we've got lots of resources. This podcast, we produce a lot of data, but then, especially for the non-traditional applicants, don't be afraid to, and I've told several, even this week, on the phone that, don't be afraid to reach out to the advising office at the institution that you're attending. You may be non-traditional. You may have a job. You may have other things going on, but definitely do what you can to develop the relationship with your pre-health advisor at the institution you either graduated from or are attending.
Absolutely. Mr. Meeks, thank you very much for joining us again.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
If you found this podcast to be beneficial, please make sure you hit like. And if you could please leave us a review to help us improve the podcast and make sure that we can continue to reach a wider audience, we would really appreciate it. You can always reach TMDSAS on our social media pages, facebook.com/TMDSAS, and also on Twitter we have 2 handles, @TMDSAS and @TMDSAS Support. And once again, on behalf of everybody here at TMDSAS, we want to wish everybody all the best of luck in their application this cycle. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you later.